Blessings, namaste, and love, everyone. I'm spiritualist, psychic, astrologer, and medium Sette. Once again, I thank you for allowing me this opportunity to share with you my astrological and spiritual insights, and we are looking to the month of November 2022. Certainly this year has unfolded at an unprecedented speed. I always emphasize how we are becoming much more aware of certainly our connections with spirit, the spirit realm. And in the spirit realm, time and space as we understand it does not exist. And because we are becoming hyperly aware of our connection with spirit, the presence of spirit and spirituality in all of our lives, we are becoming less aware of the lower dimensions, third dimensional physical realm. It doesn't mean that we're not going to continue existing in this realm of consciousness. However, all of our vibratory frequencies are elevated, specifically to higher levels of consciousness, understanding of our connection with each other, and the awareness of spirit and spirituality in all of our lives. And because of that, it appears as though time seems to be unfolding much more quickly than it has during any other time in history. I understand that what was at one time perhaps perceived as 24 hours now is really only about 16 to 18 hours. So if you just reflect on how quickly the day seems to unfold, it seems as though we only have 16 or 18 hours in any given day. And I'm emphasizing these higher levels of consciousness as well as this acceleration towards profound insights and understandings and a greater sense of awareness about ourselves, humanity, and also what is unfolding on our planet right now. And we, as I mentioned in my last video, we are in an eclipse season. We had a solar eclipse on October 25th, and coming up we have a total lunar eclipse on November 8th. These eclipses very much are connected with the continued awareness and fortification of our personal power. These eclipses are very much portals for us to continually recognize, become aware, infuse, and demonstrate our personal power. And as I have emphasized in the past, personal power provides us the opportunity to recognize that we are very much the master of our destiny. Personal power, self-empowerment is very much connected with the sign of Scorpio. That is one of the highest vibrational frequencies and demonstrations of that Scorpio element. The lower vibrational, lesser frequencies of the Scorpio characteristic is disempowerment of another, when we misuse that power and we inflict that power over another. The self-empowerment element provides us the opportunity to recognize how very much we are in control and instrumental in creating our lives, when we are certainly very aware of the creative process, which very simply stated is thought, word, and deed. I emphasize, I believe in chapter 3 of my book, if we permitted ourselves to honor, acknowledge, and be fully mindful of every thought and every word that has been spoken in every moment of every day, we would become abundantly aware of how we've created our realities and the realities that we have encountered. And with that knowing, we can certainly recreate anything that perhaps we have miscreated that is not necessarily a loving experience or what we truly would desire to experience. And as I am emphasizing, these eclipses are very much portals for power, more specifically self-empowerment. Our solar eclipse, which we had on October 25th, was in the early degrees of Scorpio, was at 2 degrees of Scorpio. All the signs in astrology are measured in degrees and minutes. Each sign is 30 degrees. The earlier placements, the earlier degree placements of the sign is when its major characteristics are very much more demonstrated than in the later stages. And what I emphasize, the early degrees of Scorpio is so giving us this opportunity to really, really, truly recognize our power. The lunar eclipse that we have on November 8th, it's in Taurus, but it's the Scorpio-Taurus axis is very much energized. Now, one element, one very important and predominant element with these eclipses is that both eclipses have the presence of Venus prominently placed in the charts. In the solar eclipse chart, Venus was within less than a degree proximity of the solar eclipse new moon. And what I'm emphasizing with that, Venus being the planet of love, this is certainly an opportunity for every one of us to recognize the power of love and the importance of, in every moment of every day, being in that place of love, more specifically within ourselves. I always share that when we allow ourselves to truly be within ourselves in that place of love, we begin to observe love in all experiences. We understand all experiences and all that occurs and unfolds from that place of love. That love element is the most powerful constituent which will create so much healing within ourselves as well as in the outside world. And that love element certainly, as well as the knowing of self-empowerment, our power within ourselves, very much needs to be demonstrated from that place of love and humility, and certainly not ego and greed. So all of us at these times certainly are very much inspired to recognize and embrace and then demonstrate that power of love. This is very much what these times and these eclipses right now are very much concentrated with. Now, as I said, on November 8th, we have a total lunar eclipse, and that is at exactly 6:01 and 56 seconds a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, what's also significant with the total lunar eclipse is that the eclipse, the full moon, a total lunar eclipse is a full moon, is located within 1 degree of the planet Uranus. Uranus is the element that brings about the greatest change. It also brings about awakenings, higher levels of awareness, understanding. Uranus is about humanitarianism. These are all opportunities for every one of us to recognize the element of oneness, how we are all very much etherically and energetically connected to one another, and all that we think, say, do, and feel not only has an impact on ourselves, but it also has an effect on every one of us and the all of humanity. If every one of us would allow ourselves to really, or rather the majority of humanity would permit themselves to recognize the power of love and being in that place of love, quite honestly, that it was all that we would need to be in order to facilitate a great change throughout humanity. And this lunar eclipse is very much about the continuation of the unfurling of great change and great awakenings that are taking place throughout of all humanity during these most unprecedented times. And truly, one of the greatest awakening for every one of us on a personal level is the knowing of our power. That nothing in the outside world, I always emphasize, no matter how great, how evil, if you will, something may seem or appear, even to the extent of what we might refer to as a demon, nothing of that caliber on a lower negative level has any power over us unless we permit it to have that power. Universal law states that we have a free will, and nothing, no matter how strong or how powerful, has the permission to override our free will if we do not concede to the experience. There's also another blessing of knowing of our power, how nothing, no thing in the outside world has power over us. And once again, this does not intend that we are to misuse this power and inflict that power over another. It's so that we can become and continue to become the master of our destiny. And this is, again, another such important element during this eclipse season right now. The collective of humanity, we've given away our power to others for so many years, thousands of years, and there's been a redistribution, if you will, of the power, returning to every one of us individually. When we know that power within ourselves, and when we create small pockets of power in our communities, certainly from that place of love, with the intention of love in those small communities, we are creating that ripple effect to the all of humanity. What's coming next can certainly be glorious, but also too, remember, with the placement of Uranus, Uranus does at times represent chaos, and that does not infer that if there is a chaos experience in the outside world, it does not necessarily have to have a negative impact on our wellness, our well-being, and our peacefulness. I've also very much emphasized the importance of being in the world, but not of it. When we are in that place of love and peace within ourselves, we can observe what occurs in the outside world from that place of peacefulness, because also too, when we are being in that place of peacefulness and love within ourselves, we permit Spirit to share with us the higher understanding as to what is occurring in the outside world, which very much has the intention for the highest good of all, provided we are working with the energy. All which unfolds certainly does contain the highest good for every one of us when we recognize and understand how to work with the energy, how to go with the flow. And these times that we are in right now, especially with these eclipses, are very much times for us, as I said, to know our power, to really recognize how we are instrumental in creating the conditions in our lives, as well as the conditions of our planet, and to truly know the profundity, if you will, of the power of love. As I said, the Venus placement is so prominent in these charts, and Venus is, as many of us understand, the element that does represent love in many forms, as well as our creative abilities. You know, in the past videos, especially in the August time frame, I touch upon the importance and the opportunities of what is known as the Lion's Gates portal, which is the sun's passage through the sign of Leo, specifically around August 8th, and what takes place at that time. Leo is the element also that does represent love and the being and that being in that place of love, but also too the element of creativity. Creativity, being in a place of love, it's all so very much connected. And these are all characteristics of the divinity that is in every one of us. And when we observe all of that from that place of humility, we create extraordinary blessings, not only for ourselves, but for others and the all of humanity as well. So that is really certainly to be very aware of what is occurring during this eclipse time, to recognize that this shift towards higher levels of consciousness is at a profound turning point right now, and to allow ourselves to be very peaceful as we go through these next few months. And if it seems as though there's an acceleration of the chaos in the outside world, that chaos is only shifting and stirring up some energy to dislodge anything which may be discordant and which is not necessarily serving a higher purpose for our greater good. As I suggested, be very aware to remain in the world and not of it, especially as we move through these next few weeks and certainly through the end of 2022. Now we have our next new moon on November 22nd. And as I always emphasize, the 3 or 4 days leading up to the new moon, beginning with the balsamic moon phase, that's the last phase of the lunar cycle. And that period begins on November 22nd at 6:07 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is the auspicious opportunity to energetically prepare for the coming lunar cycle, which is that 28, 30, 29, 30 day period from new moon to new moon. Now we have our next new moon on November 23rd at 5:57 a.m. And let me just backtrack a little bit. On November 22nd at 3:20 a.m., the sun transits into the sign of Sagittarius. Now, our next new moon on the 23rd is about 1.5 degrees of Sagittarius, so that Sagittarius element is very much fortified and energized at this new moon, and also too with the sun's passage in Sagittarius. Sagittarius represents, among many things, our connection with the higher mind, or the higher mind, as well as our connection with the higher mind and the higher self. Sagittarius is the philosopher, the one who inspires others. It gives us the opportunity to really think outside the box. The opposite of Sagittarius is Gemini, ruled by Mercury. Gemini connects with certainly the thoughts and the thought process, but more so the thoughts that are more connected with the lower realms and the lower dimensions. Sagittarius, because it's the higher mind and the higher self, connects with the thoughts and the understandings from the higher levels and the higher dimensions. So certainly this time is an opportunity for us to receive higher knowing, higher insights, abstract thinking. Sagittarius is represented by or ruled by Jupiter, which Jupiter expands all things. So this time certainly, especially with the sun's passage in Sagittarius and the new moon in the sign of Sagittarius in early degrees, it's very much an opportunity for us to expand upon our connections with our higher self, to clear those lines of communication. Every one of us has a connection with our personal higher self, and it's this umbilical-like etheric connection, which is the part of ourselves which exists outside of the interferences of the lower realms and the lower dimension. It's that part of ourselves that really can see the bigger picture in our lives personally. And when we clear that etheric connection to ourselves, we permit ourselves to receive these higher insights. This is also a connection with the higher realms. Higher beings, such as angels or extraterrestrials, which we do understand metaphysically are really just one and the same, and to receive those higher insights and guidance from those beings. You know, there's been some chatter in the outside world that there's been an increase in sightings of extraterrestrial crafts. How valid or how truthful that is, I'm not certain. But when we allow ourselves to really recognize and understand, but also vibrate at that same frequency, we have even more personal connections with perhaps sightings of extraterrestrial ships or anything along those lines as well. Certainly this is not anything to be fearful of, but to embrace, because these beings, the higher realms, they're very much here to assist us, not interfere with our free will or our realities. They are here to assist us, to guide us, and to inspire us. Sagittarius is the sign that very much represents inspiration. And this is inspiration that is very much shared with us from the higher realms, certainly when we facilitate that process. Meaning being very aware, abundantly aware, to keep ourselves energetically clear, peaceful, and grounded. That etheric umbilical cord that I referred to earlier, when it's cluttered with, for example, like static electricity, it's no different from when there is static on a phone line. When you're communicating with the other, and if that phone line is riddled with static, we can't really hear what's coming through from the other. It's no different than when we communicate with the higher realms and the higher self. If that etherical umbilical cord is cluttered and peppered with static, it's very difficult to decipher what's coming through from the higher realms. So we always suggest becoming and being abundantly aware of the tools available to maintain a clear line of communication with the higher realms, but also being abundantly aware of the importance of remaining peaceful and energetically grounded with the energy and the elements of the earth. In order for us to make the most of the experience of connecting with the higher realms, we need to be anchored with the energy of the earth. Otherwise, we have a tendency to go off into the stratosphere, if you will, and not necessarily make sense of what's coming through. Because we are, while we're in human form, we are in the third dimension, we are in human form. And so to interact properly and effectively with the higher realms, so not to create any imbalances, we suggest maintaining a strong etheric connection with the energy of the earth. And then there's that balance between the physical and the non-physical, and it fortifies and just stimulates the clarity of our connection with the higher realms. As I said, the next new moon on November 23rd is very much about all of us recognizing and becoming aware of that connection with the higher self that every one of us has the opportunity to work with. And that balsamic moon phase is an auspicious opportunity to specifically clear that connection with the higher self, the higher mind, higher levels of thinking. Also, too, we may notice how perhaps some of us may feel a little bit more energized right now because of the heightening of these etheric connections with the all of humanity. Remember, these experiences are not only specific to certain individuals. Every one of us has the availability to work with the spirit realm, so for us to recognize that we are guided, that we are being inspired by spirit. You know, spirit has been tapping many on the shoulder right now with seeds of inspiration, but many times we don't allow ourselves to really offer proper credit, if you will, to the inspiration that's coming through. Perhaps it may seem like something that is so far-fetched and so out of the ordinary that we discredit the validity of what's coming through. When you feel those moments of inspiration, especially right now and in the coming times, just honor what Spirit is sharing with you. And allow yourself to, what I always say, to keep it all in the realm of possibilities. Don't discredit what's coming through for you personally right now, and how you're very much, so much being inspired to recognize a greater purpose, and whatever that might be. You know, when we emphasize a greater purpose, not one is more important or less important or greater, more significant than the other. It's whatever allows us to really share that element of love, if you will, and to really generate and create that ripple effect of positive energy, which really begins by being in that place of love, as I began to emphasize earlier in this video, and the importance of that love constituent. So once again, I thank you for permitting me this opportunity to share with you just some of the astrological alignments of this month. In every month, and even in any given day, sometimes there are hundreds if not thousands of astrological alignments. It is very challenging to talk about all of them. I just like to highlight the most important ones that are taking place, as I do when I work with clients. We look to see what is very much being energized at any given time, and again, to inspire you to really to know your power and to be in that power from that, to know that power from that place of love and create many blessings, certainly for yourself, but as well as the all of humanity. I will be returning to the mystical moon on November 14th is my first day of sessions. My schedule is already filling up very, very, very quickly. So if you would like to schedule time with me, you can contact the centers in either Bonita or Fort Myers. They have my schedule. They can certainly confirm the time, your time with me, and I'm very much looking forward to returning to Florida. I always am very excited about coming back, but I feel there's just something important about coming back in this time, especially with everything that occurred in the area within these last few months, and just to be very much aware to bring as much love and healing to everyone that we all encounter. So once again, thank you for this opportunity. Enjoy a most blessed Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is the holiday that is most connected and representing of gratitude. We inspire all of us every day, be in that place of gratitude. Dedicate time to counting your blessings and really honoring how much abundance is already with you. Remember, the more that we can direct our attention towards those blessings, we only magnify even more blessings. Enjoy a most blessed and bountiful Thanksgiving. Surround yourself with your loved ones. Honor who is with you during this holiday time. Also, honor who may not be with you in physical form and is certainly with you from the spirit realm. Namaste. Many blessings, everyone, and we will see each other very, very soon.